Are you ready?
Deadman walking.
For life.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Deadman Collectibles. My name's James, and in this video, we're going to be going through the West Tigers in terms of Supercoach 2025 and sort of the impact that they're going to have on both our teams, and the opportunities that they might provide our teams. Obviously, I run Deadman Collectibles, which is a collectibles business. It's a small collectibles business where we mainly sort of focus on trading cards. We do have all sorts of teams, all sorts of sports, NBA, wrestling, NFL, all sorts. But one thing I am starting to focus on is NRL. There's definitely the opportunity at the moment with NRL traders and NRL elites, which are the two sets that have come out regularly each year. That there's some opportunity there to get some really nice cards. So like last year in the elite, there was a Ivan Cleary and Nathan Cleary signed card together. And then there was also a Greg Inglis card, which was quite cool for me as a South supporter. So I've got one of those myself. So yeah, and obviously if you're interested in any other cards, check out my website. It's www.getdeadmancollectibles.com. I've got an Instagram, which is at Deadman Collectibles. You can find us on Facebook as well at Deadman Collectibles. And obviously we've got our YouTube channel, Deadman Collectibles. As you're watching, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. It does really help out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. So look, we'll get straight into it now. So as I've done with all of these videos, and there are other NRL videos if you want to check them out with the other teams. So the plan is I'm going to go through every team and sort of break them down. Yeah, so I suppose what I've done is in the team picker, I've actually gone through and put all of the relevant Tigers players in here to make it sort of simple, just showing you guys. And then we will go through the whole team sort of to see where some opportunities are, where some players that are actually going to be relevant, sort of how they're fit in the team, that sort of thing. I suppose to start off with, though, just talking about the Tigers generally, over the last sort of 10 years, I live in the Tigers area, so there's a lot of my friends go for the Tigers. I see a lot of Tigers supporters. I'm probably, a 15-minute walk away from Leichhardt Oval. So I would, I am very familiar with the club sort of thing and the team and the supporters. Unfortunately, over the last sort of 10 years, there's been a few years where I've really thought to myself, like, actually, you know what? They've signed some good players. I actually think they're looking decent on paper. Like, I think they're looking good. Not maybe getting in the top 4 good or anything, but they look pretty decent. And then that just doesn't seem to happen. And they do go on little win streaks where they look really good for a while, and then they sort of fall in a heap again and end up coming last. Somehow they end up beating Souths, who I go for each time they have a little win streak, but I don't know how that happens, but anyway. So, I think that's going to be but I don't want to jinx it, but I do think they've actually signed pretty well, and I think they're going to be a lot better team than they were last year. Now, whether that actually turns out is another thing, but and obviously injuries can play a big factor in all of that and everything, but I do think I think we're going to see a better Tigers team. I think they're sort of going to be finishing around the, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 mark. And I think they've got a chance to make the 8, sort of just depending. So I think there's points that are going to come from them. And I think they're going to be a relatively entertaining team. And I think there's some particular signings that they've made that I think are really going to help them. So in terms of their draw, it is quite good to start off with, actually. So that's the Origin draw. obviously the first 10 rounds, I think are really important in terms of how we're picking our team, or like the rounds prior to the first major bye. Um, and the Tigers have a great um, uh, draw to start off with. So, they're playing the Knights, which I think is you know, a relatively easy game. Um, the Eels, I think, are going to be much better, but I don't think they're going to make the 8 sort of thing. Dolphins, again, I think they're going to be better, but I'm not sure about them making the 8. Warriors, I think they're in trouble, especially with Tohu Harris retiring. I think they're in a bit of trouble. Broncos are good, obviously. Knights again, Eels again, Sharks at home. Dragons, again, I think they're going to be better, but still, and that's in Magic Round, so you never know. Melbourne's obviously hard, and South are going to be better, but I do think that defensively they're not going to be great. So I think there's still points to be had there, and like I said, they always do seem to somehow score well and beat South, so that's not a bad thing. You've then got the first major bye round, so they're not going to give you coverage there. So you got Cowboys, then Penrith. I doubt there's going to be restings in this, so you've got a full strength Penrith team, or basically second bye round. Raiders, which is a good matchup, but then you've got Manly at 4 points, and again, it's far enough out from Origin again. The third major bye round against the Roosters, so that does seem like a pretty good matchup. Then their draw starts picking up again. So the Warriors, good. Titans, good. Penrith, obviously, no. Bulldogs, probably not as well, because defensively, I think they're going to be quite good. The third bye, Manly again. And then I think this is probably the interesting thing to note. The last 3 weeks is Cowboys, Raiders, and Titans. Now, obviously, there's going to be a bit of travel for them, as they're going to have to go down to Canberra and then fly up to the Gold Coast. But outside of that, for me, it looks like they're one of those teams that are going to be. There's going to be guys that you want to pick up and just keep, right? I think there's 1 or 2 players there. Then there's some other guys that you're probably going to want to keep for the first 12 weeks. Get rid of them before the bye rounds. And then if you, depending on your team makeup, right? And then even probably not have them for a little while. And then the last 3 weeks, if you've got some trades up your sleeve, there might be some opportunities there to sort of get a sneaky trade in and have a point of difference. So it's definitely something to look out for. Look, I don't think we should be planning exactly where you're going to be making trades and everything at this point, because there's too much in the season that's going to happen. But I think it's a good idea to really understand at least like the season in 3 blocks. Like if you're pre-Origin, bye rounds and Origin period, and then post-Origin period. So again, in terms of the actual team itself, we'll start just going through. So I suppose one thing to point out is with Appy, he's out for the first 3 weeks. So unfortunately, I don't really think he's an option to start off with. And I think with his price, I think it's 612,000. I think if you're picking an elite hooker, because I think at the moment what's happening, it seems like most teams are either going with 1 elite hooker and 1 cheapie, like a Sandal Smith or something, or Mamazulos, or you're going with 2 cheapies. If you're going with 2 cheapies, maybe you could. I don't think 3 weeks is enough for you to build up enough cash. Well, it's not going to be enough to build up enough cash to then move to Appy. So I don't really think that's an option. And 3 weeks is too long. Like maybe if it was a week suspended, you could think about it, but I just think 3 weeks is too long. Then he's not cheap either. So I just don't really think he's an option. Then De Silva, he's who's going to be playing those games. He's only going to be playing the 3 games. So again, I don't really think that that's an option there either. And obviously, people's teams online is sort of showing that. If you have a look at what people are picking, like I've never seen anyone picking Tigers hookers. So I suppose the main thing to talk about are the front row. Obviously, there's been a lot of change in the Tigers in terms of the front row. Um, look, Terrell May, I think is going to be almost a must-have. Um, I, for the life of me, I have no idea why the Roosters would let him go. I was praying that South signed him because I think he's exactly what South need. The only thing I can think of is that there's obviously off-field stuff going on, but it doesn't appear to be that either. So I don't know what was happening there. But he seems super fit. Like I think he's sort of trying to run a marathon or something. I read something about that. Um, he's he's been quoted in saying that he wants to play like 80 minutes, and I think that's possible with him. I don't think they'll run him into the ground, but I think I think he's going to get good minutes, right? And I'm especially once Appy gets back, I'm expecting some, you know, little little um, short passes off Appy from dummy half. I'm expecting Luai to be sort of once he's running lines to sort of bring May into play. I think Galvin's going to be able to do that too. Also, I think May going in and then getting that offload for someone quick like Galvin or Appy to come through. Like I think there's some opportunity to involve him in the offensive side as well. Um, and yeah, like I think there's a massive opportunity there. So, and it's a relatively softer start for them, so I think he can ease into it, sort of thing. Yeah, I think he's almost a must-have, and from again online, you can sort of see that trend happening. Um, and the thing is, he could quite easily score big in the first 2 or 3 weeks and shoot up to 700k and sort of be out of reach at that point. So I'm not going to be taking that risk, and he's someone when I've been sort of playing around with what my team will be, he's someone that's always there. Obviously, him going there has sort of changed things a little bit for Royce Hunt. I don't think it's changed things completely, but obviously Royce Hunt going there from the Sharks originally looked like he was probably going to maybe fit that role. Not to the extent, obviously, but I think people have seen enough from him, and I've seen enough, I think, from him to show that he can sort of be extremely impactful. But at what we haven't really seen him play more than about 30 minutes. So it's 30 minutes a week. So I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. I suppose at that price, though, can't go too wrong with it. The thing is, their front row otherwise is Pole, which he's great, right? But I think he is clearly going to be part of the 3 rotation. And then there's David Clemmer. But when you start looking into the second rowers as well and the rest of the team, it's hard to sort of see who's going to be getting the bulk of the minutes there. Like I'm imagining that Bainu and Seaforth are going to be playing back row, and Bird I imagine is going to be playing in the forwards as well. And then you've got Twal, so Twal's also and he's been a main piece of that team. And then you've got guys like Porter and a few others that have been in the mix too, some younger guys. So yeah, like it's just that's the only thing with Hunt. It's just I'd want to see the minutes, but I think it's definitely worth the roll of the dice just because of the price. Obviously, that's not great. I don't like having 2 front rowers from the same team. And I wouldn't have Hunt as my second starting front row. I'd want him on the bench, and I'd want someone else I'd ensure that I'm watching how many sort of Tigers players are going to actually be there in the forwards, and make sure you're sort of managing the minutes, sort of thing. So we've got the second row next, which is which again, there's definitely an opportunity there. We've got Fainu, Seyfarth, and Jack Bird. So obviously, with Bateman leaving, there's definitely minutes available. You've also got Twile and Porter, which I think are going to get minutes there. So again, I don't know what the breakup's going to be, but I would hope that Bird would play 13. That would give him some, hopefully some attacking stats as well. But I suppose the issue will be his being on the park and sort of just making sure he's healthy. So look, I think Bird's a great option there. Again for the price as well, and he's dual. So I think that's definitely an option. Luai at halfback. He's not my favourite player. Let's just say that. Especially there's been a rivalry with Penrith and South, although I would say it's a one-sided rivalry, or a a very dominant side sided rivalry. I'm not willing to take the risk. Like Nathan Cleary is huge, and I want to see him. I think it's very different being in a team of champions and running the team when Nathan Cleary isn't there, to running a team that came last year and then bringing them up with you. I think that's a completely different ask. So I'm not going to be looking at Luai, and that may sort of be something that bites me in the backside down the line. But I just don't think that that's probably the best option. Galvin is probably someone that I would like in my team. Although I would want to see what's happening now with Luai. I think it could go either way, where it could unlock him tremendously more, and he's able to roam around the park a bit freer, and he's got more time. Or it could be the other way, that he gets a lot less ball and it's doesn't work out. He'll still have some opportunity, but yeah, it could detract from him. Look, the other thing is obviously as well, it's a second year syndrome potentially, so you've got to watch out for that too. I think what I would like to do with him is hold him, or at least not take him, and wait to the end of the season. And I think he's someone of those last 3 games that could be very sneaky. That's sort of what I'm thinking at the moment. But again, it very much will depend on my trade situation. But he is someone that I would like to get in. And who knows, maybe I could get him in a bit earlier or whatever. But that's someone I'd be looking at getting in the future. Like realistically, 5'8's really a challenging position. The only players really that I think are an option, off the top of my head, would be Munster, Cody Walker, Dylan Brown, and probably Galvin. So it's out of those 4. Yeah, so anyway, he's someone I definitely think would be an option in the future, but I'm not going to be starting with him. Now, centres. Centres are interesting. Or centre wings. So obviously you've got Taruva has come in. I think he's got the opportunity to score big, but we don't know whether he's playing centre, a wing, even fullback potentially. I doubt it, obviously, but we don't know where he's playing. So I would imagine that, I think from what I was reading, I think he wants to be in the centres, but obviously he's been an amazing winger, so it's going to be hard. I would probably be putting him on the wing, in which case I probably would be keen. If he's playing centre, though, I don't really think he's an option. Then you've got the other one. So I suppose there's obviously then 3 spots available. You've got Olam, Dewey, Naden, Stafatoa, Skelton, and Charlie Staines. I could see all of those guys starting in those, like in the 3 positions. Obviously, you wouldn't put Staines in the centres. You'd be wanting him on the wing. So probably same with Skelton. And like I personally wouldn't be putting Naden on the wing, and I don't think Dewey's able to play on the wing, and Olam's not either. So there are like some guys going to be able to play wing, and some guys are going to be able to play centre, but there's essentially 2 centre spots and a wing spot available. Or if you move Taruva to the centre, you've got 2 wings and a centre spot available. In terms of the centres, look, I think Olam's defensively, I think can still pull a big hit out, and can still palm off guys. But I think I don't think he's up to it anymore. I think he's going to get first crack though. So you can't. I wouldn't be staying away from him. Look, Dewey, I have a soft spot Dewey again because he was a South player, but he also went to my old school. So I remember watching him play in the first 15 when he was playing rugby there. So I would like him to go well, and I think he's got the ability to. But again, he sort of had his opportunities, and he's not young anymore. Like he's not old, but like he's not young, right? So I think this is probably his last year where he's really does actually need to show it. So as long as hopefully he can stay on the park and hopefully he can do it, but um, I think again they'll probably give him first crack. Then you've got so again he's a jewel as well, so that's something you can maybe try and sort of put him into your 5'8" spot at some point throughout the year. But they're both priced pretty evenly, and they're not cheap either. They're about 430, I think. Yeah, so that's difficult. I think I don't think there's a lot of room to make money, but there's also a decent amount of room to lose money. So, and that's if they play, right? Got Naden, which I don't think is maybe. Look, I think he's probably again if you put him at Penrith, I think he'd be great, right? I just I don't see him being a player that should be in first grade every week. If you like I said, if he was your worst player in the backs, like at a big team like Penrith, he knows the system and everything, I think he would be great and work out well. But in this situation, I just don't think he can do it. And the same for Charlie Staines. I suppose they're pretty similar for me. They also signed Skelton from the Bulldogs. And again, I have a bit of a soft spot for him for the rugby connection. But I don't get why you'd sign someone like that and not play him. Right? And I think he's probably exactly what you would need on the wing. However, he's also not cheap. He's like 500k. So that's not great. And from what I'm reading, I think Stafford Toa is actually the guy who might get the opportunity. And he's 206, 270 about. So that's probably one guy that I might look at stashing is Stafford Toa, and hoping he gets a starting role somewhere there. But all of the other guys that I think they just cost too much, and they're too much of they're not a cheapie, they're not a gun, and they're just as likely to score 20 as they are 60, and you're not going to get 100 points out of them. So it makes it tough. The fella from it's Macassini. He's someone to look out for as well. Center wing and center wing. Again, I think he's bottom dollar or close to it, like 200k. So he's someone to definitely watch out for as well. He's from rugby again, but I've seen that he's working close with Benji, and I think he's probably going to get eased into it. So again, probably not worth starting, but it's probably just someone to keep an eye on. And if you see him pop up, might be someone to jump on in the future. And then Buller. Look, Buller's interesting to me. 570, I think it is. Yeah. I think what I would be doing is using him if you're in a situation where you don't want to go the cheapy route with your third fullback. What you're wanting, but you are a bit short for cash. He's significantly cheaper than your Pappies, your your Tedesco's, like you did the big boys. But I think especially in the first few weeks, we've seen that he's got the ability to be able to do that, and we haven't seen him with the other guys either. Like with Luai and just the forwards as well. So I'm thinking he may be an option for me, like a sneaky play, but I don't know if I'll have the guts to do it, so we'll see. But outside of that, that's basically the team. Realistically, I think the main targets we're gonna really be looking at, May, Appy later in the season, Hunt. Like they're probably the two definites. Bird as well, just because of the duel. Obviously, people are looking at Luai. Galvin definitely. Taruva could be an option. And obviously Buller. Everyone else, and Staffatoa, if you're wanting sort of a cheapy option if he's playing. Outside of that, it's basically looking at team sheets on the first week, but overall, I think that's the team, and yeah, I do think sort of the Tigers will be relevant for us this year. So, thanks for watching the rest of the whole video. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. And remember to check out www.deadmancollectibles.com. Check us out on Instagram at Deadman Collectibles and all the other socials at Deadman Collectibles. So, thanks so much, and yeah, good luck with the season. The next team I'm probably going to be doing is, I think, the Storm. Yeah, I'm thinking we'll go with the Storm. All right. Thanks so much. Let's see you next time. Bye.
Dead man walking.
For life.